Some weeks, all you want is a show that lets you switch your brain off and doesn't ask too much of you. The kind that lets you sit back while it all just happens. One that's little more than easy, accessible entertainment. And those aren't easy to pull off. There's an art to that brand of storytelling as well. Cult leader, serial killer, psychological thriller Asur is back. Season 2, now streaming on JioCinema, picks up a few months after the events of last season. They say storytellers need to put their characters through the ringer, and this show goes all in on that idea. Last time, lead CBI investigator Dhananjay Rajput, aka DJ, played by the forever enjoyable Arshad Varsi, saw his wife murdered in the show's first episode. And his fellow investigator Nikhil, played by a permanently perplexed Parun Sopti, had his daughter murdered at the end of last season, along with fellow officer Lolak, played by a sincere Sharab Hashmi. On this show, members of the core investigation team tasked with taking down Shubh, the dreaded Asur killer, all be dropping like flies. It's kind of an HR nightmare. The opening structure of this season works well. DJ has split off from the CBI and has formed his own vigilante group alongside Nikhil's ex-wife, computer genius Naina, played by Anupriya Goenka. Together, they're willing to go to any extent to bring Shubh down once and for all. Elsewhere, Nikhil tries to do the same within the limits of the law, alongside the new senior ATF officer, played by a singularly moody Mayank Chang. But zooming out, this season was always going to be a tough one to sustain. The first season's essence of being introduced to and trying to catch a creepy new serial killer on the block was always going to be more compelling than a second chapter of, oh yeah, so Shubh's still out there, still killing, still doing his thing, while we're still here trying to stop him. There's just less of a novelty and more of a need for creator Gaurav Shukla and his co-writers Abhijit Khuman, Suraj Yanani, Abhishek Garg and Chirag Salian to keep things moving. While the craft this time is thankfully cleaner and less awkward, it doesn't help that season 1 felt like it had a lot more violence, blood and gore. I'm fairly sure that this was the most gory Indian series I'd seen, which added a great deal to the aesthetic and mood of Asur. This is also the kind of show that has no depth or sophistication, which is totally fine. It's a low-hanging fruit thriller that lives entirely in service of its twists and turns, and I found it alarmingly watchable. It works best when it's pacey and consistently in motion, jumping to the next dun-dun-dun, plot point, revelation or murder. It's a show that works best when big things keep happening. The problem is when that propulsion stops in at any point. This series takes a second to check in with and humanize its wafer-thin characters. There are times characters are sad about someone who's been killed, and because they're also uninteresting, you can't help but think, oh my god, will you please stop whining and just keep investigating and give us the juice? It's also kind of funny because there's this CBI therapist who has to keep clearing people for work every time one of their loved ones is murdered. After a point, I started to see this as a comedy about an overworked office therapist who just can't catch a break between all the grieving employees. Like this, there are a few too many moments of unintentional comedy. For example, DJ finds out which university Shubh attended 12 years ago. When he goes to visit, he's told that there was a mysterious fire that burned down the lab Shubh was working in. Except that in the last 12 years, no one has touched the lab, so it's still full of burnt Shubh-related evidence. Or certain plot points that feel familiar to everything from Captain America the Winter Soldier to Die Hard 4. Or a truly ridiculous news hour debate in the final episode. Or the matter of Naina's hacking abilities being used as a lazy device anytime this team has backed themselves into an investigative corner. You could legitimately ask her what one of Shubh's disciples ate for breakfast in 1992 and she'd just type away into her fancy hacker Google and extract some information. There's just so much computing stuff in this show. We get buzzwords on everything from artificial intelligence to quantum computing mumbo-jumbo to cryptocurrency to social media data mining. It's not imaginative, it's just exhausting. Then there's the central Shubh problem. Last season, Shubh, the bad guy, the Asur killer, felt like a mysterious individual with a twisted psychology. But here, he's escalated to an over-engineered villain, a cyber terrorist with resources and followers everywhere. It doesn't help that when adult Shubh is finally revealed, the actor who plays him is as vanilla and uninteresting as they come. Compare him to, say, the impressive Vishesh Bansal, who played the young Shubh, as an emotionless, magnetic, dead-behind-the-eyes psychopath. Or even to the well-cast Ami Wagh as Shubh's undercover disciple Rasool, who, armed with crazy eyes, is far more effective as an unsettling, slimy, unpredictable killer. At its best, Asur is an unapologetic comfort watch full of cheap, trashy thrills. That is when it doesn't get insanely and incoherently carried away. You can watch Asur Season 2 on JioCinema.